Hey, 2010 to 2024 4Runner owners, listen up. We've got a brand new head unit release from Kenwood, and it's coming with a vengeance. It's the Exelon series, so listen up. Hey, what's up guys? It's Cliff with Trail Grid Pro, and as always, super pumped to be back with you. We've got something brand new in front of me today. As always, super excited to release brand new products, especially when it's coming from such a trusted name in the 12-volt industry. We've got the Kenwood Exelon DMX-1058XR. It's a big, beautiful, brand new head unit, and it's gonna be perfectly made for your 2010 to 2024 Toyota 4Runner. And as I've said, this is the first new brand that we've had for the Toyota community in a long time. And why do we have this new brand? Well, we have this new brand because we listen. We heard from you in the forums. We heard from you by submitting emails saying, hey, when are you gonna carry Kenwood? Well, here it is. The Toyota 4Runner is gonna be our first entry into the Kenwood brand, but we're gonna be coming out with it for Tundra, Tacoma, and more. So be on the outlook for that. But in front of me, I have the 2010 to 2024 Toyota 4Runner kit. It's gonna be very similar to the previous kits we have from the other brands that we carry, but it's a brand new release. This head unit is brand new. It just came out from Kenwood, and it's super packed with all sorts of features that you're definitely gonna want in your 5th gen Toyota 4Runner. So let's go over those. So as I've said, the Kenwood DMX-1058XR is a brand new offering from Kenwood, the Exelon series, which is the Cadillac of Kenwood. This Kenwood beauty's got a 10.1 inch high definition monitor with a capacitive touchscreen, which is obviously state of the art. It's got a floating panel mechanism with 4-way pivot adjustments. So you can definitely tailor it to the cockpit that you want in your Toyota 4Runner. It's got wired and wireless Apple CarPlay, wired and wireless Android Auto, and it also has high resolution audio wireless, which is super cool. It's got wireless mirroring from your smartphone. And one of the coolest features is this is our first offering with 4 camera inputs. The head unit has 4 camera inputs. So you got your rear camera and 3 additional inputs, which is super cool. It's got HD front and rear camera ready. So you can have the highest definition cameras combined with this head unit solution. It's got built-in Bluetooth, HD radio, and Wi-Fi. It's got 3 pre-outs, 5-volt, and digital optical output. All right, so there are some of the high-level features of this beauty of a new head unit, but one thing I didn't cover. Let's zero in on this head unit a little bit on that screen real quick. What do you see in the bottom center of the screen? A volume knob. It's got a volume knob built into the head unit. We got a lot of questions about that. You know, we've got steering wheel controls. Obviously on other head unit solutions, we all have controls for volume on the bottom bezel, but man, do we love that knob. So Brian's been testing this in his Tundra for several weeks, and he's typically a steering wheel control guy. You know, he's got the steering wheel controls, but he's like, I don't know what it is, but I've just been reaching for the knob and turning the volume up and down. Super convenient. So I know that's gonna satisfy a lot of people that love that knob. It's there. So we've got nice 2025 tech in here, packed with the newest technology. Again, a brand new offering, but we've got some nice creature comfort, old technology, just that volume knob makes us feel nice and cozy. We got that there if we want to turn the volume up and down. So super cool. So real quick, let's go over what's on the table. If you've been following along for years, you have an idea of our 4Runner packages. Most of the meat and potatoes of the package, you know, it's the same. It's a custom solution for your Toyota 4Runner. So when you fill out the product page based on your specific details of your vehicle, we build it for your vehicle, not someone else's. So on the table, we've got dash kits. So of course, Toyota 4Runners, they come in a silver dash kit or a charcoal dash kit, depending on whether you have silver or charcoal, but obviously you can switch it up if you want to. If you want to go silver or go charcoal, just answer the question accordingly and we'll build it that way. We have some accessories that we have to attach to the dash kit that are here, which just sort of complete the look to look exactly like factory, some clips, and then a hazard surround. Of course, right here, we've got the head unit, and I'm gonna turn this around, so bear with me real quick. All right, so this is where the magic really is. We've got everything plug and play that we assemble at our shop for your Toyota 4Runner before it leaves. There's nothing you need to do when you receive it. It's ready to install. There's no guesswork. There's no wiring, soldering, nothing you have to do. Everything's done for you before it hits your door. Plug and play, ready to go. Again, built for your Toyota 4Runner. So everything's done there, and we'll go through that. We've got some other pieces here which we're going to attach to make the real clean look in the back of the head unit. We've got a cover piece here with some hardware. Obviously, it's going to come with a microphone, and we have a microphone mount for the Kenwood as well. If you want to attach it in the overhead console, we'll have that video on how to route the mic if you want to attach it in the overhead console in the description below. And of course, nerds. You got to have the nerds in the pack. That's what really rounds out this whole thing. There's nothing better than sugar with an installation. All right, we're going to put this box to the side for a second. I'm going to actually prop this up here a little bit. I want to go over a few things on the back of the radio just to give you an idea of what each item back here does. So when you get it, you're going to be fully informed. All right, so I'm going to go from left to right. So right here, if your bundle requires an antenna adapter, so some of the antennas in the newer Toyota 4Runners, it's this rectangular shape. So this is what that's for. This is a 2020 that we have behind us. That's the antenna adapter. If you have a 2010 to 2013, you could just have a circular antenna, which looks exactly like that, which would plug directly into here. You won't need the antenna adapter, but that's what that is. Over here, the yellow, we have the camera inputs. So these are all your camera inputs here. We have the rear camera, factory rear camera, plugged up right here so that when we install this, the factory rear camera will work just like it does right now. But you have 3 other camera inputs here. And then actually this is, and I forgot to mention this is a video output. So you can output video to another screen, say you're tailgating, whatever it is, you can do that as well. Right here, we have our GPS connection. So the GPS connection in here is used to get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. And moving over, all right, moving over from left to right, these are the main vehicle connectors. So these are going to have mates that come directly, the main harness that comes directly out of your factory head unit, and then of course connected to the Toyota side of the vehicle. So we'll go over those when we get in the vehicle. This is your OBD2 connection, which we're going to route underneath the steering column over to the OBD2, which is located right next to your left foot essentially. So we're going to connect that. That gives us vehicle data and some other information that is critical to make this work as it should. So down here, we have, if you have aftermarket audio components, these are your RCAs for aftermarket amplifier, subwoofer, they're all right here. So if you have that, they're ready to go. Right here, we have our USB connection. So to maintain your factory USB location, which is underneath your head unit, for connection for wired Apple CarPlay, for charging, this is what maintains that. And over here, we have some bullet connectors for camera power and negative. And this is just what comes standard in the harness, so we can use those as well if we need to. One thing I didn't mention is that our solutions are comprehensive. The reason we say that is because it maintains all of your factory features that are super important to you. Steering wheel controls, factory backup camera functionality, and any settings that you can make in your factory head unit currently can also be made with this head unit. So all of that functionality is retained. We get those questions all the time. Steering wheel controls will work. Backup camera functionality is going to work. And then of course, this gives you the opportunity to add 3 more camera inputs if you desire. All right, so that kind of goes over everything on the table. Wanted to touch on the wiring so you knew exactly what to expect. You got charcoal, silver dash kit. I think we've covered everything. Before we get to the install, let's touch on what tools you might need to get this done. All right, so right here we've got a wire fish. You can use a wire fish or shoot, you can use a old school coat hanger, anything that's straight that can fish wires through tight quarters. We've got a Phillips head screwdriver here. We've got a smaller Phillips head screwdriver here. Make sure they have magnetic tips. And then we've got a flathead screwdriver here, panel tool. We've got a 10mm socket with an extension, and this is a ratchet, but if you have a manual, that's fine too. So that's basically all you'll need to get this job done. So let's go ahead and get started with this installation. All right guys, over here in the rig, we're gonna get started with disassembly. Pretty simple. Maybe you've seen some of our other videos, but if not, this is exactly how to do it. So to remove the factory head unit, essentially we need to start down here with these side panels. So all you're gonna do is grab it with both hands and it's gonna pull right off, just like that, okay? There's one. Now we gotta get the other side. So same thing, pull straight back, comes right off. All right, the next section is the HVAC section, and whether you have it like this or the digital display, it's the same. It's gonna pull straight out, just like that. And on the back, we're gonna have a few connections. We've got this connector right here that we need to remove. And then this fastener right here, which you might be able to do by hand. Yeah, there we go. Pops right out and through the hole. So we've got that taken care of. Put that aside. So what that's going to expose is 4 10mm bolts here under the head unit. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. So we're going to use our ratchet. We're going to use an extension and our 10mm socket. Now again, if you only have a manual, that's fine, but it'll do the same thing. So let's get those out. All right, there's one. Recommend putting them in the cup holder. Now, when you're doing this, definitely keep your hand under it so that it doesn't fall into oblivion. There we go. Got it out. There's 2. All right, there's 3. And the last one. There is 4. All right, perfect. So we all have all the 10mm bolts out. Next, we're going to be pulling the entire head unit out, and it's going to pull straight back towards you. So what I always do is kind of crack it on one side. So there we go. That started to come out, and then go to the other. There, just like that. All right, now that we have the head unit slightly removed, we're going to grab a microfiber and just put it on top of our shift knob here so we can rest the head unit down while we disconnect all the connections. But again, you're going to pull straight out just like that. All right, and then we can set it down here just gently. And what that's going to expose here, I'm going to try to hit the hazard button. What that's going to expose is all of the connections back here behind the radio. Okay, so depending on whether you have fully stock or some aftermarket solutions already, may look slightly different, but at this point, this vehicle is mostly stock. So we're just going to remove all of these connectors here. So there's 1. There's 2. Let's get this gray one. 3. This white one here. Ooh, that's toughy. There's 4. There is 5. 6, black one, 7, blue one over here, 8. Let's see, we've got this one here. There we go. And this black one right here. All right, and we got to get the hazard here, which is just right down between the vents. All right, so we have all of the factory connectors removed. We can remove the head unit. This piece right here, we can leave this connected to the factory head unit because this actually is just communication between the GPS module and the actual head unit part of the head unit. So that's totally fine. So we're ready to take this out and finally prep for our installation. We're gonna go over to the table and I'm gonna show you exactly how to get your new dash kit prepped for the installation, that dash kit that comes with our kit. So let's get over there and get started with that. Okay, so as we prepare for the installation, there's a few things we need to do to prep our new dash cover for our super sweet Kenwood head unit. And there's a few things that we need to actually remove from the factory head unit that we're gonna transfer to the new aftermarket dash cover. So let's talk about those first. So what we're going to remove are the vents right here on either side. There is a top trim piece here that we're going to remove, and then the hazard button, which is right here. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to remove are the vents, and I'm actually going to flip the head unit around because I think it's going to be a little bit easier for the camera to see. And essentially, each of these vents is held on by little tabs, right? So essentially what we're trying to do is move the tabs slightly, which is going to free sections of the vent, and at the same time you're going to be kind of pulling up on it. And as you start to work around, so there's one vent section right there that's kind of popping off. So it doesn't look like anything else is there. There we go. All right, let's work around here. There we go. So it kind of freed up there. I've got a, it looks like another one on this side, which I'm just going to move over. There we go. All right, so there's one vent completely out. So what I'm going to show you now that we have the overview of the tabs that were holding the vent into place. There's one right here. So essentially we'll be moving that to the side, which is going to essentially loosen the vent from its location. Here's one right here, so we're just moving that to the side. So that's what we're doing in order to free the vent. So we're going to put that one aside and repeat the same process on the other side. Again, working around those tabs, the same tab, see, you can see it already started to come up, and you pull gentle pressure up as you're starting to remove it, and this one's coming out way easier. Okay, all right. Got this one off, so we've got them both off. And again, it's the same locations on this side. So we've got here, 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 and again, we're just pushing them to the side, over here, 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 and here. So hopefully we're able to catch that with the overhead, but that's what we're removing. So we've got both vents removed. Now we need to work on this top trim piece, and actually to remove that, we're going to take out these two screws right here. So let's get rolling on that. All right, and then this trim piece should just pull. There we go, pull straight out. All right, so we got our air vents, we got our trim piece here. So we're going to put these aside. Let's put the head unit aside, the original head unit. And now let's bring our new super sweet head unit in here. All right. So what we're going to do first is let's go ahead and put our clips on. So this is what's going to help keep the dash cover in place. And we're just putting that over these pieces on all four corners. There we go. And next we're going to do our, let's just flip it over. We're going to put in our air vent covers. So, sorry, these are the, yep, there we go. And this side. And these will just snap into place. Just got to make sure they're in the right way. There we go. Perfect. All right, now we're going to flip it over because we're actually going to insert some screws there, which are over here, to hold those in place. All right, so what we're going to do while we do that is just put pressure from behind the cover just to make sure as we put this screw in, it doesn't fall out. So gentle pressure while we screw it in. There we go. Same thing for the top one. Gentle pressure. And in. And to the other side, gentle pressure and screw. And lastly, gentle pressure and screw it in. All right, perfect. Got that there. We have our hazard surround cover, which is actually just going to go right on the front and snap into position. There we go. Okay, so now we have a couple things left, which we took from the factory head unit. We've got the air vents and the cover. So let's go ahead and get the air vent into place. And again, they are labeled right and left. You can see that, left and right. All right, so let's go ahead and get the right side in. So again, these are just going to push down into place. I mean, it couldn't be any easier. Certainly way easier than getting them out. All right, so let's get the other side. Again, just pushes straight down, locks into position. There you go. All right, so the last piece is our top trim piece. So we're going to go ahead and just sort of gingerly put this into position up here. Just take it slow. It'll slide right in. There we go. Got it in there nice and snug. And then we're going to flip it over. Actually, I'll have to flip it this way so I can see the screw holes. Hopefully you can too, but just real quick, essentially, they're up here and here. It's the inside location. So let's grab our first screw. And as I mentioned, it's the inside location. So right there. All right, got number one in. Slip it this way. Number two is right here, again on the inside. Just get it in there nice and good. There we go. All right, perfect. And last but certainly not least, we need our hazard surround from our factory head unit. So to do that, it's kind of satisfying. So we got the factory head unit here. Just gonna give it a nice little push from the back. Pops right out. Cool. That rounds it out. And all we do is do the reverse of that. Just push it right into location. It moves, does what it's supposed to do. We're in great shape. So that's all the assembly you have to do for the head unit. Pretty easy, takes around 10 minutes. So now we're ready to get back in the vehicle and let's get this head unit installed. All right, back in the rig, and I have the body of the head unit here, of course, which we saw on the table. And if you've been following along for the last 5 years, you get that term. This is the brains of the head unit, essentially. When we have a floating display head unit bundle, the display goes on last, but we got to install this first. But what we need to do first is we need to get a couple more things prepped before we actually install this. And the first is we want to route the OBD2 connector down to the OBD2 connector in the vehicle. So we're actually going to disconnect this right here, okay? So we're going to disconnect that, and we're going to route this down from the floorboard up to behind the head unit so we can get it ready when we are ready to install the head unit. And then after this, we're going to do the same thing with the microphone. So let's just get this unraveled here. And this is the point when our wire fish or coat hanger comes into play, whichever you have or want to use. All right, so we'll put that down there on the floorboard, and we've got our wire fish here. Again, the wire fish will work, but if we don't have it, a coat hanger will do the same thing. All right, so all we're gonna do is reach behind and find your path down to the floorboard. Nope, I didn't find it. It was a little too narrow. All right, so you basically just start poking around a little bit, and then you're gonna find it. I have just gone to the floorboard. All right, so here's the wire fish that I fished from back behind the head unit. So I'm just gonna take the connector here, and I'm just gonna slap a little bit of tape on it just to be able to pull it through. Don't need a ton. So just like this, get this connector nice and protected. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right, so now I'm gonna pull that through. You'll see it go bye-bye. All right, there we go, pulling it through. All right, perfect, and here she is. So let's just get that tape off. All right, and now it is ready to be installed on this side. All right, so back here on the floorboard, now that we have the OBD2 routed behind the head unit, we might as well just go ahead and plug this in right here, right? So this is what we're looking for right here. Let's get that plugged in. And of course, we're gonna clean up these wires. We're gonna attach it to, there's some metal bracing up here that we're gonna attach it to, just to keep it obviously away from our feet when we're driving and secure it for safety purposes. Okay, got that all nice and neat and tucked under. Let's go ahead and just pull this out. There we go. Perfect. All right, next up is the mic. We need to route the mic. There's obviously several ways that you can do this. We're gonna mount it right here on top of the steering column. We have videos where, and with this bundle, you will be able to store it in the overhead console. So I'm gonna link that video on how to do that below. You can also store it up here in the A-pillar if you want, but we're just gonna put it right here. The mount that comes with the kit does have a little sticky mount, so it'll stick nicely right there. Obviously, all of our Kenwood kits are gonna come with a Kenwood mic mount, which will give you the ability to store it in the overhead console. But anyway, to get this part started, for where we're gonna mount it, I need to get this down through the side of the steering column into the floorboard, because then what we're gonna do is use the wire fish to pull the microphone jack through the hole where the head unit goes, so that it's ready to plug into the back of the head unit. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna kind of jump out of here a little bit and get to the floor and try to route this. Should be able to do it with my hand. Let me see if I put this up. Yep. Down here to the floorboard. And you're kind of just fishing it with your hands. And I'm gonna reach up the other way, and try to get at it. There we go. Okay. Kind of have it here. Again, my hand is just underneath the steering column. All right, so I've grabbed it with my hands. All right, so here it is right here. I've got it underneath. So I'm just gonna pull this through a little bit. Okay, got my slack, and then kind of drape it over the top here, about where I'm gonna put it. I'm not gonna mount it yet, but I'm gonna put it right there. I don't know if you can see that, so I'm just kind of placing it here. And now that I have my mic jack on the floor, it's now time to wire fish again. So, I'm gonna get our wire fish ready, get it down to the floorboard again, and again, repeat the same process that we did with the OBD2. Find your little path. Just got to the floorboard. I'm gonna grab my tape, tape the mic to the end of the wire fish. So I'm gonna lift it up here if this other camera can get it. There's my wire fish. Here's my mic jack. Let's give it some tape. All right. And now we're going to pull it through. Just be gentle. Yeah, there we go. Came through pretty easily. All right. So here it is. So again, wire fish, old coat hanger that you straighten out. Any of those will work. All right, so the mic is pretty long. So you're gonna wanna pull all the slack through. The mic wire is long, that's what I'm referring to. So I'm gonna clean it up a little bit here. The mic was originally packaged with a twist tie, so I'm just gonna use the same twist tie just to keep it nice and clean. All right, so got that there. Okay, the OBD2, that's a little long too. That also had a twist tie with it, so let's just get rid of some of that excess that we don't need. All right, perfect. Got those ready. We've got the mic done. We've got the OBD2 done. Now we're ready for the beginning of the star of the show, the body of our head unit. And we're going to start making connections here. So I'm going to put my microfiber towel down because I may need to rest it a little bit. But what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with the main vehicle connectors here, okay? So in this case, because this is a 2020 Plus, we have 3 main vehicle connectors. There's 2 white and 1 black. If you have a 10 to 19, your connectors are going to be slightly different. They're going to be all white, but obviously the same rings true. For the 10 to 19, all of your plugs are keyed. okay? For 2020 Plus, that's also true, but there happens to be one of our connectors that fits 2 of the plugs from the factory side, but only one of them does what it's supposed to do, which is power on the radio. So we're gonna start with that, okay? So these 2 connectors on the factory side are essentially exactly the same when it comes to looks, but functionality very different. The plug that you want to use in our kit is this one. It has a larger than all the rest baby blue and brown wire. If you look at the other one, it's just a bunch of small wires. So this is the one you're looking for. This is what's going to allow everything to power up. So let's get that one plugged in first. All right, we got that plugged in. Next, we're looking for our black connector, which is going to match black to black. Okay, great. And lastly, we just need one more connector, which I believe is this right here. No, this one. There we go. Okay, so we got that done. A general overall rule of thumb is do not be concerned if you have leftover plugs from the Toyota side. Not all plugs are reused in all applications, so don't worry about it. All right, so we've got the main vehicle connectors there done. Okay, so right here, we've got the GPS connection. And the GPS connection, let's find it, kind of gets tucked down here. There's 2 connectors that look exactly the same, and they're right here. But one is black and one is white, okay? The black one is your Sirius XM. The white one is your GPS. So if you are maintaining Sirius XM, you'll need to use the black one. But in any application, you'll need to use the white one, which is GPS, which is right here. So let's go ahead and plug that in. Okay, perfect. But they will both fit in there, so you want to make sure you get the right one. All right, so we've got that taken care of. Let's see. We've got our antenna. Here we go. Antenna. Again, this is the rectangular connector. And let's see, we'll find that. Here it is. Here's the antenna plug from the vehicle side. So let's go ahead and plug that in. All right, to get that oriented correctly. Perfect. And we definitely still have the factory USB retention. So let's make sure we get that plugged in. Here it is. All right, so this is the factory USB retention cable. This is a 2020 Plus retention cable. It's going to look slightly different for the 10 to 19 if you have a factory USB location under your head unit, but they both do the same thing, which is maintain that connection to the factory USB. So let's go ahead and find that back here. Found it over here. It's this gray connector, so we're just going to orient it and plug it in correctly. There we go. All right, so we've got that plugged in. Let me just do a quick run through here. Okay, so that's basically it from a connection perspective. Now, one thing I just do want to go over again is that these are the 3 additional camera inputs if you want to add 3 cameras. Our kit will retain the factory rear camera, so that's already taken care of. If you have the factory 360 camera system or MTM system, whichever it was called when you purchased, this kit will retain that functionality, so that'll all work with this. So whether you have the front camera and the 360 view works, rear camera works. But if you want to add any cameras, these are the connections on how to do that. So pretty cool. All right, so at this point, I think we've got everything connected except for the last 2, which is what we ran, which is the mic. And the mic is just going to go ahead and plug in. Let me see if I can orient this a little bit this way. There's a port right here. That's black, that's labeled mic. So I'm just gonna go ahead and plug that in. There we go. And the OBD2 is actually connected to our harness, if you remember. So we got a little gray and white striped wire. And if you can see it, I've got a little gray and white striped wire here. It's got a white connector. Again, will only match its mate. This is where we removed it before we ran the OBD2. So all you're doing is just putting it back where it was. So we've got that. So at this point, I believe we've got everything taken care of. So we can start to tuck some of our wires here. Again, that's the big main harness there. That's kind of still in the way, but we're just tucking that back. So just gingerly put them back. So we're just tucking wires underneath, getting it nice and in place. Okay. Okay, so again, very important. You want to make sure you keep your hazard switch up here. You don't want to hide it behind the dash because then you won't be able to find it when we need to install it. So we're going to start by hand and just getting our 10 millimeters back in. So there's one. There's two. There's three. And there is four. All right, so now let's tighten those down a little bit. Don't have to go too tight. There we go. All right, we're nice and snug there. Perfect. Okay, now that we have the body in, I'm gonna go grab the dash cover. We're gonna get that installed. All right, have the dash cover here. So we wanna make the hazard switch connection. And again, here, I'll just turn this around. The hazard switch is just gonna go right in here. So that's exactly where it came out of in the factory head unit. So I've got that here. This is why it was important to keep this up here. I may actually tuck this underneath this brace or over it. So there we go, like that. Okay, so again, right in that slot, take this, plug it right in. All right, got that into position here. And now we're gonna start putting our cover on. Need to feed these wires through. This is what connects to the screen. All right, so. All right, perfect. All right, got that oriented there. All right, good. We look good. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pull these out a little bit. These move for installing the screen portion. It's just gonna give us a little more room here on the sides to attach the screws. So let's go grab the screen. All right, we've got the super sweet Kenwood 10.1 inch HD display here. So we're gonna start getting it installed. But what we need to do first is, I'm gonna orient it a little bit to the side. There's two connections that we need to make here. There's a gray port and a blue port. And hey, would you look at that? Coming out of the front of the head unit, I've got two plugs, a gray plug and a blue plug. So I'm gonna start by installing the gray plug. And again, obviously you wanna be real careful as you do this. All right, so we're gonna take our gray plug here and just plug it right in the side here. All right, that is plugged in, perfect. And we're gonna grab our blue plug and plug it right into the blue port. All right, there we go, got that in. That's in there nice and snug. Okay, so now we need to actually route these wires a little bit. So we're gonna route it right down there. And I'm gonna take this big wire, we'll go down as well. All right, so now we're gonna mount the radio. In order to do that, we just come up high like this. It's gonna slide right into position here, okay? And as we do that, of course, we need to start to fish some of our wires through this hole. All right, there we go. And our smaller wire, kind of get that up here. There we go. And start to fish that through too. There we go. Perfect. Okay, got that. All right, so we're gonna make the recommendation to have the head unit in the lowest position possible. Reason being is because that's gonna give full access to the vents. You're not gonna have any airflow sort of bouncing off the back of the head unit. It all enters the vehicle anyway because it just bounces off and goes into the vehicle, but this is gonna allow straight airflow out of the vents. So we're gonna basically put it as low as it goes, and then we're going to, there's screw holes on the side. We are going to attach the screen to the arms that came out from the body to keep it nice and secure. So let's go ahead and take care of that. All right, we're gonna start with the first screw, and this is exactly what the screw looks like. It's gonna be in a little baggie with all the screws that hold the head unit to the body. So let's go ahead and get that in. perfect. There's one, and there's gonna be two on this side, and two. All right, it's gonna basically just repeating the same process on the other side. All right, so basically it's the top one. Let's get that in. All right, one more. Just right below it. All right, perfect. Got that in. All right, last and certainly not least is our cover, which is going to make the rear of the head unit look super clean. So let's go ahead, and that just slides right down the back here. There we go. Nice and clean. Look at that. That's beautiful. Woo. All right, now there's screws on either side, so we're just going to use a screwdriver to get those in. All right, so the screws for this are these small black screws, and it's going to go right in the side here. Pardon my head, but I just want to make sure I get it in the right place. All right, there we go. All right, that's in, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, perfect. Got that in there. All right, let's get our screen up here. All right, sweet, that looks cool. I'm gonna tilt that down a little bit. All right, awesome. Let's just get everything back into place. So let's start with the HVAC. So we're gonna go ahead and get our connector here plugged in. All right, and put our fastener back. There we go. And get that back into position. There we go. And our side pieces. So here we've got the right side. There we go. And let's grab the left. Perfect. All right, this baby looks sweet. Let's go ahead and get it in accessory power and get it fired up. Oh, look at that. Got Exelon here. Best of the best here. Got some, what was that, like carbon fiber back there? That's cool. All right, so we've got our setup screen here. As you can already see, those colors are super vivid. Sometimes it's hard to catch on camera, but let me tell you, it's super, super vivid. And then we can see here right now, we're kind of in a demo mode, so it's demonstrating that these bottom buttons, you can customize it to whatever color you want. Purples right now, then it's going to like a baby blue, then the green. So we'll obviously get that set up. So let's go to language here. We're in English, good. That sounds like what we want. Clock here. Yep, we're 12 hour. We're not Pacific time. We are Eastern. So let's get to Eastern here. There we are. Eastern. Okay, cool. Display and button. All right, button illumination color. Woo! Look, you can super customize it here. You can go to literally any color in the color palette. I think what we're gonna do for now is I think we're just gonna go white. Let's just do that. But like, you can do red, that's cool, yellow, whatever theme you got going on in your 4Runner, you can match it exactly. So, all right, cool, we're gonna stay there. Let's see, clock icon selection. Oh, look at this. This is cool. So many choices. I don't know. I kind of like this. It's like a Submariner Rolex or something there. That's cool. Let's go with that. All right. Viewing angle. All right. So right now, I'd say we're about -1. I'd say we're about -1. Yeah, I think that makes sense. All right. So let's do that. All right, we're gonna go back here. Let's go to camera. All right, so rear camera interruption on, rear camera message, always display, parking guidelines. Okay, so we can turn those on or off. I'm gonna turn them off here. All right, let's go to camera assignment settings. All right, so we've got the rear camera here, mentions it's rear, but here You know, we can assign the other cameras if we had other cameras connected. We don't, so we'll just keep going, but obviously you could do that. Parking grid lines. We got other features here, just not applicable at the moment. All right, camera Maestro setup. So vehicle features, looks like we're just grayed out right now. Maestro settings. So this is where we've got the gauges. We can choose which gauges we want to display, and vehicle info, okay? So that's where access to all that is. Parking assist, none of that's enabled at the moment. All right, perfect. So let's go back there. All right, demo mode we want to turn off, obviously, because we don't want that to go through a bunch of different colors. System configuration. All right, we've got some options there. Nothing we really need to do there at this point. So let's finish the setup. I agree. All right, so here we are at our home screen. Oh yeah, there's our little Rolex up there in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, so as you can see here across the bottom, we've got what, HD radio here. Here's Apple CarPlay. Here's Android Auto, and this is what probably goes into Bluetooth. Yep. So we're gonna jump out of that. Well, hey, we heard some noise. That's a good sign. All right, so let's go ahead and connect our device for Apple CarPlay. So we're gonna go into settings and Bluetooth and wait for. Oh, geez, it's already there. Look at that. That's fast. All right, let's connect that. Yes. Yes. Allow. All right. Yep. Connect for Apple CarPlay. Yes. All right. Processing. Woo! Man. That is a big, super sweet screen. We got nice 3 layers of apps here. That's super cool. All right. Let's look at the Kenwood. Goes to the Kenwood home. Okay. So that comes back to this screen. All right. So we go back into Apple CarPlay. All right. So this is the main Apple CarPlay screen. Obviously, you can control the background of this. One of the things that I think looks super cool is where you just put the background to something solid. So just set it to that, and we'll come back to Apple CarPlay. It's just nice and clean. Really, the apps kind of stick out, but you can do whatever you want. You can upload anything you want here, of course, but all sorts of apps at your fingertips, of course. Everything here, music, maps, what's playing now, shoot, audiobooks, you can do podcasts, whatever you got going on. And then, of course, you got your short display over here. Android Auto is going to ring very much the same. You're going to have your apps here and everything just like the experience on your phone. Let's go into some of the settings and features on the phone. I'm sorry, on the head unit. So let's go back here. So, okay, we've got wireless mirroring here. So like we talked about, you can mirror your phone on the head unit wirelessly, which is super cool. This is Sirius XM expandable, so you can have Sirius XM. We'll have that as an option at checkout. USB, HDMI as well, AV in, standby, and this is cool, the pitch and roll here. So I'm gonna go here. So we've got our pitch and roll here, and what's cool is that probably right out of the box, you might get a different vehicle, but you can change the vehicle here. So now we don't really do much for cars, but if you had a car, there's one. Van, there's a van. There's a Jeep-looking vehicle. Looks like a 2-door little coupe. And, you know, that's the closest thing we got to a 4Runner here. So you've got a pickup option if you got a Tundra or a Tacoma, so you can have your pitch and roll look as close to as possible as your actual vehicle. So that's a cool feature within the head unit. Another cool feature is that you can view your rear camera at any time. Disregard that. That's our customer has a lot of stuff going on the back of his 4Runner that he hasn't quite gotten an aftermarket rear camera yet, but hey, the rear camera works just like that. All right, so let's go into settings. All right, so audio settings here. Woo, look at this. Man, you can really dial into the sound here. This is pretty extensive. So we've got speaker and crossover here. So you can set all of that in this area right here. We've got front, rear, subwoofer. You can set your speaker size based on location. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Of course, we got our EQ here. Super, super extensive EQ. Let's see. We've got our listening position. That's pretty awesome. We got our fader balance. So depending on what you got going on, you can fade left, fade right, fade up, fade back. We got our volume offset. So like, for example, some sources kind of come in louder than others. You can adjust the volume based on what source it is. All right, sound effect. Okay, we've got bass boost, supreme, loudness, sound realizer, all sorts of things that we get to play with, like lots of cool goodies. I can't wait to dive into this. Audio memory. All right, so we got some audio memory features in here, which is cool. All right, so display and button, we kind of went through these where you can customize. You can customize your wallpaper, which is pretty awesome. User interface, beep, I want to turn that off because, man, that was loud. Cameras, we've gone into that, we set that. The system, this probably just goes into some system details. Time format, everything. All right, cool. All right, everything's in good shape there. What I thought was cool is that you can set this pitch and roll on this main screen right there, which is awesome. Have it there at all times. Easy to jump between like HD radio and, want to go back into CarPlay, which is right here. So now, without further ado, let's listen to the sound of this. So full disclosure, Brian's been testing this in his vehicle for a couple weeks. This is my first time installing it, seeing it at all. It's super high quality. And I already love the knob here. I can just see myself naturally going to the volume knob, which is cool. Now, this is the larger screen. We're going to be offering other Kenwood screen sizes with this. So those are coming, but this is the largest version of that. What Brian said about the sound quality is it's better than anything he's heard. So the sound quality is fantastic. And he has some aftermarket amplifiers and speakers in there, Alpine, but he just said it all sounded fantastic. Way better than it had before. So good news, but let's get into that a little bit. Guys, one thing I forgot because I got excited when we went into pitch and roll is we also have vehicle info as well. So which doors are open, which ones are not. We're going to have tire pressure here. Just isn't loading because the vehicle's not on, but that will display right here. So all sorts of cool features. Battery voltage, if we have check engine, so that will be there. And then, of course, gauges. All right. Again, not much going on right now. Ignition is off, but we have full gauges here, and you can customize them as well. So an awesome feature associated with this, like lots of cool tech like we never had before in a Toyota 4Runner right here at your fingertips. All right, we've got a song queued up here. Let's go ahead and get this, give this baby a listen. All right, guys, it looks great. It sounds great. I mean, what else could you want? You guys have been asking for Kenwood. We wanted to bring you Kenwood. It's going to be available right away in the Trailgrid Pro shop for the 4Runner. The Tundra and the Tacoma are coming. We're going to have different screen sizes. This is the 10.1-inch display. We'll have the smaller screen sizes as well. It's the Exelon. It's the premium Kenwood lineup, and we're bringing it to you. You can grab it at the Trailgrid Pro shop at www.trailgridpro.com. And as always, guys, have a blast out there.